this video, I'm going to talk very fast while I go over the instructions for your compare-contrast essay. Ignoring due dates and times, you've seen this video, and instead check your course with the due dates and times that apply to you, because I sometimes reuse my videos, and the content stays pretty much the same, but the due dates and times will change. So you're writing a compare-contrast essay, and what that means is you're going to exercise your critical thinking skills to do what comes very naturally to you, and that is to judge things based on how they kind of stack up to each other in price, size, beauty, performance, distance, whatever works for you. And so the real trick here is it comes naturally to us to kind of judge things and play one off the other or categorize things. But it gets hard when you have to organize those thoughts and get them down onto paper. And so that's really what we're working on here. We're working on organizational skills because the compare and contrast part of it is super easy. And the way you organize things is with a good, strong thesis statement and clear, concise, but varied sentences that are written strategically to accomplish a certain purpose. And in this case, the purpose is to either uncover comparisons or contrasts that are not obvious to the average person. So more specifically, you're writing a 5-paragraph essay where you either compare or contrast two things, one or the other. You're not going to do both in this paper. So option one, you'll think deeply about something. We'll come up with that topic in a minute here or in the next couple of days. You pick your topic, and then you look at how two seemingly unlike things are surprisingly a lot more alike than the average person might know. Or another way to approach it, pick two seemingly like things, two things that people always confuse, and think very deeply about how they're actually surprisingly quite different in 3 specific ways. Now let's drill down on this a little more. You're in control here. This is a writing class. This class is not on any specific topic. It's on how to write. And so you're going to pick the topic, whatever you want to write about. It's not a research paper. In fact, I say stay off Google and stay off AI. Pick something you don't have to research. You're in control here. You write about whatever you want. If you have to Google it or you have to go to AI, it means you picked the wrong topic. So what topic are you going to pick? Well, you're going to write about whatever you want, as long as you're speaking universally about 2 subjects. And so let me explain that really quick. What it means to be universal is anybody can relate to what you're talking about. So it would not be a fair topic for you to say, I'm a mother and I have 2 twin daughters and they're nothing alike, so I'm going to contrast them. That's personal. That's not allowed. We don't know your daughters. Now, let's say you want to maybe turn that into a universal subject. You might say, well, having a daughter is nothing like having a son in terms of 1, 2, and 3. And you wouldn't talk about your personal kids and how different they are. You would talk about how, I don't know, sons and daughters, how they learn differently, how they fight differently, how they fight with their parents differently, and how they love differently. And so you would approach this as a way to teach your reader about having a son versus having a daughter, and you would do it in a very organized way. Another example, I recently was car shopping with my wife, and we were looking at Subaru Foresters and Toyota RAV4s. Those cars look exactly the same. They really seem like they're the exact same car until you dork out to the level that you're trying to buy one, and then you can go on and on for days about how even though they look exactly the same and everybody in Hudson has one or the other, they're actually surprisingly different. And so, as long as you can talk about several interesting conclusions, how these 2 subjects are surprisingly similar, surprisingly different, whatever you want to write about is fine with me, as long as I can relate to it. You can't talk about your personal family, your personal car, your personal house, but you can talk about family in general, cars in general, houses in general. Be my guest. The one topic that's not allowed, it's a terrible topic, online versus in-person school. And the reason I say that is you're trying to be interesting and surprising. There's nothing interesting or surprising you could ever say about online versus in-person school. Really, yeah, we all know. Online school, you sit at home in your pajamas on the internet. In-person school, you get dressed up and go into a classroom. Paper over. There's no paper there. Be my guest. If you really want to write that paper, go right ahead, but I'm telling you, there is just no way to get a good grade on that one. I'd save yourself and me the pain and boredom and pick something you really care about. All right, so we're using MLA formatting to do this paper. You probably don't know what that means, and that's fine. In week 2, you'll see there's a video to help you with that. Since you're doing universal subjects, we're not talking about ourselves here. You don't say I, me, my. Instead, you want to talk about your subjects, not about yourself. And so that's why you don't want to write about your two twins, even though they look alike. They're actually very different. That would be personal, not universal. So this is a universal and objective paper. I mentioned this already. It's a 5-paragraph essay because every paragraph has a job to do. I don't count words, I count paragraphs. So you have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, which actually aligns with the 3 surprising similarities or differences, and then a conclusion. You do the math on that and you come up with 5 paragraphs. And you're going to work on tight organization and very specific explanations and examples. You write a thesis statement. That's the most important sentence in any college level essay. And you want to make it the last sentence of your introduction. That thesis statement will name the 2 subjects you're going to cover, and it'll make it clear whether you're doing compare or contrast. Now, prong or umbrella, go right ahead and pick whatever works for you, works for me. Now, right now, you probably don't know what that means. ChatGPT doesn't know what that means either. Don't bother asking it. Those are terms I use. ChatGPT has no clue. The way to figure that out is move through the course materials, and all this will be explained to you. I want you to know. I use AI probably a lot more than you do, and I have intentionally written this paper in such a way that you have to dig into your thoughts and your ideas and your ability to organize those thoughts and ideas without leaning on AI too heavily. AI can help you proofread it, that's fine, but AI is not going to be able to do this paper for you, at least not the way this is written. So the body of your paper must focus on 3 specific similarities or differences, not both. Good luck getting AI to split the 2 apart. Probably not going to happen. Remember that 5-paragraph count that I said? Most AIs are going to give you 8 paragraphs because they don't know how to split compare from contrast. They think compare means both. AI platforms think compare means to compare and contrast. So don't cover comparisons and contrasts in the body of this paper. You pick one or the other. Each body paragraph will have a clear, balanced topic sentence, and here's the big one here. Each body paragraph must do more than state the obvious. That's why you can't write about online versus in-person school. That is way too obvious. You need to provide examples and explanations to elevate your writing to the college level. And that's going to come naturally if you write about something you are genuinely into. For example, I get a lot of firefighters in my class. And boy, these people will dork out over fires, and they will get so down into the nitty-gritty about how fighting some kind of a forest fire is nothing at all like fighting this other kind of fire. And you ask me, they're both just fires that burn things up. But man, these firefighters will really nerd out over the 2 different types of fires. And then if they get done with the paper and they're like, whoa, I didn't have to look up anything. I just knew it all. Yeah, I'm not here to judge how much you know on your subject. That's not my place. You are going to know a lot more than I do. I'm here to make sure that as I read your paper, you're doing more than just telling me, oh, these 2 things are similar or these 2 things are different. I'm here looking to make sure that you can show me the similarities or differences, that you can explain why the similarities or differences exist and why they matter to somebody who is not into whatever you're writing about. That's where the thinking and the writing happens. Now let's take a quick look at a couple of other things before I wrap this up. Anytime a teacher gives you a rubric, use it. I've given you a rubric for this paper, and if you click on it, you can see exactly how much every part of the paper is worth. You have to have an intro, and I tell you how to get a great score, a decent score, and a not so great score on your intro. Every college paper needs a thesis statement, and I tell you how to get a great thesis score, a decent score, and a not so decent score. And you can go through the rest of this rubric and you can read the expectations so that you can write at a level that you get the points you want for each component of the paper. Now I want to show you one more thing here before I wrap this up. Let me show you what a compare-contrast essay looks like, and you'll have access to this in the course anyway. I'm in the week 1 module, and if you scroll down eventually somewhere, you come to an example essay on skate parks. There you go. Let's open that up. So this guy wrote an essay on how skateboard parks, they're nothing alike. And if you go through this paper in detail, most people confuse skateboard parks. You look at one from the 1960s versus one that was built yesterday, and you can't tell them apart, but this guy really nerded out over it, and he wrote a paper arguing old school parks are nothing at all like new school parks. Excellent contrast essay. Is it perfect? No, not at all. Did it earn an A? Yeah. Why? The guy wrote about something he loved, and he organized his ideas in very logical ways. And in the end, I don't know if any of this material is true or not, but I can tell you, hands down, the guy wrote about something he actually cared about, and it came through in his writing because it was well organized, it was insightful, it was surprising, it provided in-depth explanations, and that's what happens when you write about things you genuinely care about, because it frees you up to really stress about the organization, the thesis, the topic sentences, and whether you're going with prong or umbrella, because you don't have to stress about the subject matter. Write about what you know, write about what you love, write about what you're into, and the rest will come very naturally to you. I'm going to wrap this up. This video has gotten way too long. If you have any questions, come up here, click on this little envelope in the upper right-hand corner, send me an email, and I'll do my best to clarify.